Hello subscribers! I bring you guys another Mattel Jurassic World review. We'll be reviewing the Dino Tracker's Wild Roar Dryptosaurus. This is the last of the Wild Roars for this wave that I wanted, and the last Wave 1 figures I need in general is the Danger Packs. The Nothosaurus, Osteraptor, and what was that last one? Oh yeah, the Alaphosaurus. And this Tyrannosaur is already looking cool in his packaging, but let's take a look at the packaging speaking of it. So we've got the same things, Dino Trackers, Wild Roar Dryptosaurus, Jurassic World logo, Velociraptor Blue and Beta, Jurassic World logo on the top, on the side, on this side, and then you see Dino Trackers once again. And right here, we got a forest icon, just like the Sinotyrannus. And if you look in the middle, there's the rainforest, a waterfall, and a stream with rocks. On the back, you got some instructions on how to add this dinosaur to your Jurassic World Facts App game, how to use the gimmick, digital map in the background, render of the dinosaur, and the other Wave 1 Wild Roars, Diabloceratops, Eocarcharia, and Kronosaurus. So let's waste no time and see if this Dryptosaurus is worth your money. Here it is out of the box. Pretty impressive figure, I have to say. I'd say this is one of their best proportioned figures that they've ever done. I mean, yeah, the hands may be a bit big, but just look at the feet. They're not too oversized, and the Dryptosaurus stands flawlessly. So Mattel, you're improving with the proportions, keep it up, and do not give us any more clown-feeted dinosaurs. So as always, let's dive in and take a look at the detailing. Starting off with the head sculpt, the detailing is not that impressive. You can barely make out some thick scales that are present on the fenestras and around the lips. The underjaw, you see, is basically just smaller versions of those barely visible scales. And going down, the scalation on the neck, the torso, and down the tail is pretty uniform and consistent. It resembles that of a monitor lizard. It can also be seen on the back of the legs. And the arms, which are just huge, the arms and the hands. This dinosaur did not skip arm day. I mean, look at those biceps, those triceps, and those forearms. It's got 3-finger claws. The claws are also huge. Then you got those thick bird-like scales on the hands, which can also be seen on the feet. The dew claw is also large. This actually looks like the talon of a bird of prey. And then the scalation on the underbelly, you could still see some, but it's just mainly smooth. Then there's crocodilian-like scales on the thighs. Of course, there's spikes that starts on the top of the head, and they continue all the way down the tail, and strangely, there's spikes on the side of the tail as well. So this is kind of looking like the Scorpius Rex. And what I like is that the spikes aren't consistent and uniform, they're uneven. See, they're larger on the head, and then they get smaller on the body, and then they get larger again on the tail. It's not like the previous Mattel Tyrannosaur, the Tarbosaurus, where just the spikes were, like I said, you know, even and consistent, and it just made it look like a chap-made dinosaur. The Dryptosaurus has a nice and suitable paint job. It's primarily a very dark gray. The patterning is a light gray that appears to have some green mixed in it. On the face, there's some blue on the upper jaw, and then the eye is yellow with a black slit pupil. Now, it's surprising that Mattel actually continued the patterning down the tail. You can see that it starts here, then goes all the way down. Well, kind of. Because the tail is just completely light gray, and if you look at the bottom, yeah, it just suddenly goes from the dark gray to the light gray. What they should have done, like on the top, they should have added some of that light gray around this area, so it would be a nice transition from one color to another color. Putting that one paint issue aside, I still really enjoy this coloration. It's fitting for the animal's given forest environment. Also, the primarily dark colors combined with the blue on the face and the large spikes. This Dryptosaurus kind of reminds me of the forest demon from Smiling Friends. This theropod boasts 5 moving parts. We've got the ball-jointed arms, which can be moved in all types of directions. The legs can be locked into place. And only the left leg can move outwards. You can't do that with the left leg. And of course, you got that pointless moving part in the tail. So let's move on to the action feature. And what I like, the slider button is not that much of an eyesore. If you look at the other ones, the Eocarcharia, Diabloceratops, and Kronosaurus, yeah, the slider button is so painfully obvious. But not with this one, fortunately, and those roars. pretty awesome sound effects. I really like it. And thankfully, no Tyrannosaurus roars. And also the other wild roars, and I believe most of the roar strikers do not have T-Rex roars. So thank you, Mattel. Let's take out the flexible ruler for some quick measurements. So you can see that this Dryptosaurus is pretty much a foot long. As for a height, it's about a little over 4 inches tall at the hips, and about 5 inches tall at his head. Dryptosaurus was estimated to be around 7.5 meters, so this toy would fit in the 125 scale range, though it could still fit in the 118 scale as a smaller individual. Starting off with our comparisons, here are all of the Wave 1 wild roars. We've got Diabloceratops, Dryptosaurus, Eocarcharia, and the one marine reptile, Kronosaurus. Out of these four, I'd say the Kronosaurus is the strongest one. The dark dorsal colors contrast so nicely with the underbelly, and there's so much range of motion with its 4 flippers than the 4 limbs of these 3 dinosaurs. But Dryptosaurus is a very close second. The proportions, sculpt, and paint job are all lovely. Diabloceratops also has an awesome sculpt, but the paint job could have been so much better than just being primarily red. They should have added some unique brown striping. And the Eocarcharia, it just could have been better in general. And it's strange, it doesn't seem like we're getting any Wave 2 or Wave 3 wild roars. For the Dangerous Pack assortment, we're getting the Zwanhanosaurus and the 2 Pandactylus, and for the Gigantic Trackers, we're getting the upcoming Elasmosaurus. I think it's likely that Mattel has at least one more wild roar for 2023. Here is the Gigantic Trackers Sinotyrannus, which is a forest dinosaur like the Dryptosaurus. Here is the Primal Attack Tarbosaurus, and like I said before, I appreciate how Mattel gave the Dryptosaurus uneven spikes to avoid making it look like a chap-made dinosaur like this Tarbosaurus. Next up, we've got all of Mattel's Tyrannosaurus. Here is Proceratosaurus, Moros, Alioramus, Albertosaurus, Tarbosaurus, Sinotyrannus, Dryptosaurus, and of course, Tyrannosaurus itself. Let's start comparing the Wild Roar Dryptosaurus next to the other $15 dinosaurs. So we've got the Fallen Kingdom Roarvores, Ceratosaurus, Baryonyx, and Ankylosaurus. Next, here is the Dino Rivals Dual Attack Nasutoceratops and Concavinator. Next, we've got the Primal Attack Sound Strikes, the Sinoceratops, Cryolophosaurus, Edmontosaurus, Irritator, and Majungasaurus. Here are 2 Dino Escape Roar attacks, the Oranosaurus and Kentrosaurus. Lastly, for the $15 toys, we've got the Dominion Roar Strikers. Here is the Wave 1 Rajasaurus and Scorpiovinator, the Wave 2 Iguanodon, Megaraptor, and Liopleurodon, and the Wave 3 Ichthyovinator. Time for some Hammond Collection dinosaurs. Here is the Velociraptor, the Gallimimus, and the Dilophosaurus. Let's bring in the Hammond Collection Parasaurolophus, the Baryonyx, the Triceratops, and the fantastic Ceratosaurus. Here is the Tyrannosaurus Rex Kiss from Rebor. Last but not least, here is the Dryptosaurus next to the Collectaxyphactinus and the Collectae Minizyphactinus. So, my final thoughts on the Mattel Jurassic World Dino Trackers Wild Roar Dryptosaurus. A very nice looking action figure from Mattel. They did a great job with the sculpt, detailing, paint job, and proportions. They were able to make a bipedal dinosaur stand without the need of oversized feet. Another praise is that the slider button to activate the electronics is not as obvious as the other Wild Roars. Though I do wish that Mattel gave this Dryptosaurus a little bit of feathers, since I think there was some evidence of Dryptosaurus having feathers. I know this isn't supposed to be scientifically accurate, but come on, maybe just a little bit. And the strange thing is that they gave the Wild Roar Eocarcharia feathers, despite there being no direct evidence of that theropod having them. So, I'm going to give this figure an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10. If you want it, you can find it at your local Target, which is where people have been finding the new Dino Tracker stuff. So, if you guys enjoyed this review, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.